Three, two, one. We are here with Dane Thomas, and I'm really, really happy to be with you this morning, Dane. Hope you're doing well.
Hey, brother. Good to see you. I'm doing well. Hi,
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah. I want to acknowledge that it has been a bit challenging to connect. Apparently, internet is not playing in our favor, so let's call the universe to support this conversation this morning.
Yeah, yeah. That's the digital nomad, sex shaman, whatever you want to call it, reality. Hey, like we're both hopping around the planet quite a lot.
Yeah, so it's the morning to play with the magic in a very healthy way. And also, you are in Europe right now because actually you are based in Australia, right?
Yeah, Australia based, and I visit Europe. I've been visiting once or twice a year for the last couple of years, but my home is in. I just bought a house on a Mystery Road, which is going to be a temple house, and it's halfway up a mountain near the Gold Coast in Australia.
What we want to do this morning is to unpack a little bit more who you are, um, and your connection with the ISTA, your journey, and also the offering you are bringing on this planet around. Something that makes me really curious is I think you are the first person that really embody the archetype of the wizard in a
Mhm.
front way, like a frontman of a band. So I'm really, really curious about this, how this come in your life, and yeah, could
Mm.
you could you make me dream about this a little bit more? What does it mean to be a wizard?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like I got the nickname, the wizard nicknames they've happened for a long time, and I think what's happened over time is I've just leaned into and embraced it. But I've been involved in some kind of spiritual work, transformational work, personal development work for 20, 25 years, more maybe, and this nickname, the wizard, has popped up repeatedly. Even when I was coaching, I started off like life coaching in like 2007, 2008, and it would just be like, he's a wizard, you should go and work with him. um, and then when I came in ISTA, my mentor is Janine Marie, and her nickname for me was the Dark Wizard, and it was like a funny little cute nickname, but it kind of spoke to something. And for me, I guess magic, and it's written on my face, magic with a K, really represents the path that I've chosen, which is, I guess it's a sort of a Western path that to me is about moving consciously into oneness, into integration, into connection with the cosmos. And is to me, magic is a label that doesn't really exclude anything. Like I've been on various spiritual paths for a long time, but I always felt like, yeah, there's this kind of ascension path, meditation, yoga, etc. And I love those things, but something in those labels always felt to me like it was excluding, the lower, the darker, the deeper. Like if you're a meditation person, you're probably not so connected to sex and sexuality, or you're definitely not embracing of money and wealth and business. And like, it seemed like each spiritual path that I would work with, it sort of had some things that were forbidden or some things that were not included. And for me, magic, it doesn't really have a moral, it doesn't have dogma. It's almost like magic is whatever you want it to be. And for me, it really means uh, a method of ongoing transformation, and in its like the higher application of magic is about connecting to cosmos, realizing self as God, goddess, universe, whatever you want to call it. And it leaves a bit more open space for you to do with it whatever you will, versus I had a long stretch of kind of Buddhist and Eastern philosophy, which has been very formative for me, and I love those frameworks and those traditions, but I ultimately came to the place of like, they are not really built for me, whereas magic as a Western esoteric construct, when I started embracing magic as a path, it really seemed to accelerate. You know, it seemed to be like, oh, like for every year I put into this, the growth is, you know, 10x, because it's built for my system. Like I'm English. I'm back here in England, southwest of England, and there's definitely a witchy, magical connotation to this land and to my roots. So I think for me, it was about finding a spiritual path that felt compatible with my roots and my ancestry as part of it, and also finding something that embraces the material realm as well as the spiritual realm, which is a big part of what I'm inspired by, and it's a big part of why I was drawn to ISTA as well, because you know, maybe 8 years ago, almost coming up to 9 years ago, I got involved with ISTA and started attending level 1s and level 2s, and a lot of it was in order to integrate any parts of me that felt like they had been left behind, especially to do with sexuality, to do with the body, to do with the shadow, to do with power, to do with all these things that felt like they were not included in the, you know, the regular spiritual pathway, like the yoga retreat or the, you know, even the ayahuasca ceremony. You know, even though I spent some time on that journey, it felt like there's a lot of taboos of like, we don't do sexuality, we don't do this, we don't do that. And it's like, okay, but it's a big part of life. So yeah, for me, it's all about the integration of all aspects is really what I'm interested in.
I really love how you explain that. There is this beautiful podcast from Winter Isley that is all about magic, and usually when she interview people, the first question she asks is always, "What's magic for you?" I'm not going to ask you this. I let her to spread this question in the world. But the first thing that I'd like to invite you to unpack a little bit more is about the word used, dark, at the beginning. We're talking about dark wizard, because this might be a beautiful pretext of misunderstanding. So what's dark for you? What's dark for you?
And it's a very tricky one, because to me there's at least two levels to the dark, you know. And one is, you know, it's simply one aspect of the dark is the denser aspects of reality, you know. And so there is this projection of like good and evil onto light and dark, and I think that's one of the first confusions of human culture, you know, that like darkness is evil, and it's like, well, the night sky is dark, is that evil? You know, it doesn't make any sense. Like so to me, that the dark is actually where the mystery arises from. You know, it just simply means what you don't know. And this again comes back to the occult and to magic and so on. And like, you know, when I grew up, the word occult kind of meant evil. You know, it's like, oh, what's the occult? And it's like, and then when I learned what it means, it just means secrets. And so the dark to me just means the embracing of again, all aspects, but particularly the aspects that are often rejected by mainstream culture, and sort of the kind of human psyche is a lot to do with embracing the deeper, denser, perhaps more scary aspects at first. You know, there's a projection onto them. I often get this thing in trainings of like, oh, I was scared to come and work with you, Dane, but then I met you and you're really lovely, and I really could reclaim some of my power back. And it's like, yeah, like it's just to me like a color palette, you know. It's like I like, I don't know, dark movies and comic books and music that has spooky heavy bass lines, and you know, sort of these feelings that have been kind of labeled as somehow weird or not normal or whatever. And for me, that's where I found a lot of joy and a lot of pleasure and a lot of fulfillment. So yeah, that one aspect of the dark is just embracing the deeper, denser aspects of life, you know. And then there's a deeper, more esoteric take on the dark, which is really the dark as the mystery, the dark as the non-dual, the dark as kind of that thing that we can't really name, you know. And it's like it's a secondary meaning, which is not so obvious to people, which is kind of like, yeah, to embrace the dark and sit in the dark for me is like sitting in the energy of the unknowable, you know, connecting with the mystery is the best. It's very hard to put into words, as maybe you can tell. I'm like, how do I even explain the unexplainable part? But there's the deeper aspect of the dark for me is, yeah, embracing the mystery, embracing the unknowable part of us, which really is a connection through to divinity, you know.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I was thinking that I would love you to share more about this connection, this vibration of the dark. You use the word energy. So I would like to know how you work with the people to bring them to a place where they can wake up their own wizard. They can understand that reality is energy, that money is energy. So how you do with the okay, so maybe your image is one again fixed. Maybe I can pause as well and wait that you come back, and I will edit this moment. Yes, you are back. That's perfect. No problem. So the question will be, yes, the question will be how you work with the people to and to connect those elements, darkness, energy, money, concretely. What do you do with the people? And
there's a lot of different ways to work, but I think one of the ones, and this is a very ISTA relevant one, is connecting through to life force itself, you know, like freeing up the energy of the body, because a lot of the limitation is really mental, right? It's like we grow up, whatever our parents, our community, our culture, our education, and we learn certain things. This is how the world is. This is good. This is bad. This is the limit. You know, it's hard to be wealthy, or sexuality is wrong, or, you know, these pieces we pick up from our culture. And it's a lot of mental programming that we inherit. And the quickest way to get out of that is to start connecting through to the body and the life force of the body. And once we start to do that, the world becomes a bit more of a magical place, you know, because it's like we're not subject to living in the collective story. We're more connected to the wisdom of this, you know, this biological expression, and we're actually connecting through to nature. And I think for me, that is the first part. Is it's, you know, I've got a pentagram on my neck here, right? To me, the pentagram really represents nature as God. You know, it's like the elements, right? It's spirit through matter. It's you know, fire, earth, air, water, and spirit all coming together through the physical realm. So it's like one of the first ways out of that prison, if you like, of collective cultural conditioning is to get into the body and get into what I would call the current, which is the flow of life energy. And once we get into that, once we start to free up vibration, then we start to realize, like, well, when I change my vibration, when I change my state, the world looks very different, you know? And so a lot of how I work with money, you know, I'm teaching a money course in July, which seems very different than, say, like ISTA, embodiment, sexuality sort of work, but actually to me it's all the same work. And one of the ways I work with money and finance is firstly teaching people that their state creates their fate, is how I put it, right? So the state, not just of consciousness, but the state you're in your body determines how expansive you feel, how big you feel, how abundant you feel. And so the first, if you want to look at it as magical training, the first part is taking responsibility for the state that we're in. And so being able to shake off contraction, being able to get out of that mood or that belief of like, oh, this is never going to work, or I can't afford it, or nobody loves me, or, you know, all these stories, they're never going to go away completely. Like I've worked with a lot of different modalities to help clear patterns and change narratives, and they can be very helpful. But ultimately, the state that I'm in, or the state that you're in a given moment, is going to determine what you believe to be true, what you believe to be possible. So for me, step one is helping people get freed up from the conditioning in their body, which is often held in structures of how we hold ourselves, you know, how we're breathing. So yeah, opening up this connection to vibration and life is the first step to becoming more magical, if you like, and more alive. And so that's where sort of tantra and body connection and all those kind of things, to me, really start to unlock the magical abilities, because we become, you know, if I feel good, if I can run bliss through my body, it's very easy to then create what I want, because I'm like, I feel amazing, I am fucking alive. Well, I'm not going to be in that place and think, but I can't achieve what I want. I'm like, of course I can, everything is possible. Versus, you know, sometimes I wake up a little contracted and sleepy and grumpy, and it's like, okay, we need to get this body alive and moving, and, you know, shake, maybe self-pleasure, maybe some breathing. Then I come and do my journaling, which is really reprogramming the mental. And so it's really about taking responsibility for the vibration, and then secondarily coming into the mind and what am I focused on? What am I believing? How am I looking at the world? And once we start to change those two, the vibration and the intention together, it becomes much more easy to create whatever you want.
Wow. Now I have billions of questions for you, but I would like to maybe take two little roads connected to with what you shared. The first one is that are connected with the ISTA and what we do. The first one is to, we can spend a few words around this beautiful thing that is the fact that to be in a transformative journey, the best way is to be supported, to be witnessed, to be, you know, in this container, in a one-to-one or in a one-to-group situation. But the fact that in the first step or in the first part of this journey, I need this support, and little by little I need to integrate this support at the moment I will be able to, in a certain way, do by myself in a certain way, you know. So I would like that you could tell more about what is happening in ISTA around this, you know, this beauty of this during the workshop, but also after, to be part of this we call the tribe, you know. Let's start from this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is one of the big powerful things of ISTA is it's, you know, yes, it's a transformational training, which is very powerful. And I think that's the first reason, you know, people go there. That's the first reason I went there, was I want to learn what this thing is about. I want to get these upgrades, you know. And then, you know, for me, I did a lot of ISTAs before I ended up facilitating, you know, assisting, then apprenticing, then facilitating. It's been 7 or 8 years. And I think what is quite special about ISTA is it's very good at creating culture, you know? And so what I mean by that is to not only go into a space and open up, freeing up the body, freeing up the mind, freeing up the force the way that I just described, to then start to have a web and connection of people all over the world who are on a similar journey. And despite being different, you know, I have now friends all over the world from doing this work and participating in these containers. And you can do this work alone, but it is harder, you know. That's just a fact. And for me, what I've observed is, especially when people start to repeat, you know, do a level 1, maybe do another level 1 a year later, do a level 2, maybe, and like there starts to be this thing of building connections and friendships and allyship with other people on a similar journey, then reinforces the idea that this is possible, you know. Like we come into connection and into, like, it's a very woo-woo way of putting it, but when I hang out with other people that have a similar vibration, you know, it reinforces that there is a way of life available that is a freer way of life. And I notice, you know, I'm part of other communities, but the ISTA community globally has become very core to me being able to believe in that I can live this crazy, wild, free life, because I know a lot of people who are living very authentically, and a lot of them have come from the ISTA world. And so there is something about, it's an interesting thing to compare to, but when I was kind of coming from a Buddhist background, they talk about the triple gem, right? The Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, you know? This is not, I'm not in any way comparing any of us to Buddhas. Let's just get that one out of the mix. But the point is, you need the transmission, you need some teachings, and you need a community that supports you in those practices. And so for me, ISTA has definitely become a community that supports me in the ongoing practice of liberating the body, freeing the life force, living very authentically, I think is the word that comes to mind, in an embodied way. And you know, also practicing a lot of the things we practice in terms of like conscious communication around relationship, for example. Like I've been open relating for 7-ish years now, and one of the things that has made that a lot easier is having a network of other people that are practicing, even if not always open relationship, but most of my peers, whether they're monogamous, polyamorous, you know, celibate, whatever, have committed to a journey of conscious approach to a relationship. And so what that means is that we are all working on the same thing. We can sort of support each other in this journey. And I think that's huge, because what I've noticed is when I have friends who say undertake that path, who are living in the mainstream world without anyone else doing that, it's really hard for them to hold that by themselves. You know, it's like if all your workmates are in a, I don't know, I'm just picking the relationship example for now, in a regular marriage without any sort of attempt to unpack what does this all mean or have a conscious approach to relating, they're not going to know what you're talking about. They're not going to empathize with your journey. Whereas when I have friends all over the world who have been attempting to decolonize the way that they love, for is one way of putting it, you know, then there's an understanding of, hey, well, you know, if you ever had this difficulty, oh yeah, I went through that with my partner last year, and so, oh my god, that's, you know, there's this allyship that becomes possible. So for me, yeah, I think community is a very powerful aspect of it. And you know, not that you have to be best friends with everyone you do a training with, but what I've noticed is over time there are certain people that I keep meeting again and again, and it's like we've got a resonance, you know. And maybe you live in another country, but there's this allyship that is very beautiful, to have allies all over the world that are on similar journey.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Dane. Now, yeah, I think, I mean, also in my personal life, at a certain moment, you know, the body wake up and the body wants sun, want to beautiful weather, no? The same way, want to come back to this animal state of sharing space with other animals, no? To be in warm a place of a community, and yeah, waking up the wizard of the group, the wizard of the community, you know, the magic of this, yeah, as you were saying, of the body. Now I want to come back to, you put in the center of your practice as a facilitator the question of the body, and that there is an aspect that I'd like you to unpack, that is this space between ISTA or something like that will support me to integrate different parts of myself that were sleeping, lost, suppressed, whatever. So, and at the same time, that there is like an invitation to not identify myself anymore with those parts, but to, you said, expansion, no? So this is I think the tricky place where it's very important the support of the community for this integration and disintegration, this movement of breathing in things that are yeah. So I'm imagining maybe I'm sure it was also my case, not to integrate things that are connected with the sexuality, things that are connected with the childhood, could be my relationship with the money, could be my relationship with my mission in my life itself. So this different aspect to reintegrate at the same time to look wider in a certain way, to have could you tell us a little bit more what is happening around this in your practice and also in ISTA, and what you find that is commonly hard to face this, even to recognize, no? Because usually we are just stuck in one thing, one aspect of our life. And
yeah. I mean, I think what's been really powerful for me and what has drawn me over the last 20, maybe more years, is I've found myself drawn to practices and cultures and communities that are interested in moving towards more wholeness, you know? And it's like, which I think is what you're speaking to. And it's like, at the end of the day, I think one of the big things that we want is to feel more whole. You know, we want to be all of who we are, right? And I wouldn't have been able to explain it in that language 20 years ago. I don't think I wouldn't have been like, oh, I just want to be more whole. But I definitely knew there was something missing. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that there was like, well, I'm good at this and I'm good at that, but I'm really terrible at that, you know? And it's like, and I guess a lot of what lives inside ISTA that I resonate with, what's kept me coming back repeatedly, is there are a lot of different tools and a lot of different frameworks and practices that support this move towards more wholeness, right? Whether it's, and we can look at this a lot of different ways, but like, whether it's, okay, my mind and my body don't really talk to each other very well. Okay, well, you're going to get some opportunity to bring those two parts together, you know, and get a chance to bring this unification. Or whether it's maybe like, well, my masculine is really developed and my feminine is really undeveloped, or the other way around. Well, there's going to be an opportunity to dance with those and start to grow those parts up in harmony with each other. And so for me, I've been doing that kind of work for a long time. You know, before that episode of Tantric Yoga, it's like, okay, this chakra is developed, this one is not developed. You know, my mind is really developed, but my heart is less developed. So I'm going to start working on the heart. Oh, I'm more loving now. Yeah, but my sex is not very developed. Okay, let's do that one. And, you know, all of these are methods for becoming more integrated and more whole. And yeah, so really having these spaces where we can practice bringing more parts home is really what it's about for me. You know, this is why people be like, how come you've done like 10 ISTA level ones, you know? And it'd be like, well, I'm working on different stuff every time, you know? So the things that were an issue back in 2016 or whatever, many of those parts have really matured, you know, and integrated, and I wouldn't even think about. But then there's new layers of aspects of me that I'm wanting to bring in and bring home. And this is all because we learn to divorce or suppress certain parts growing up based on our identity. You know, like if you're a little boy, you're supposed to be tough and don't cry and be a little go-getter, or, you know, whatever the conditioning was. And if you're a little girl, you're meant to be soft and innocent and this and that. And we are obviously all of it, but we learn to suppress and hide certain parts or pretend they're not there. And to be in spaces where you can practice all aspects of yourself is just incredibly healing and empowering. And then what that does when you go back to your life is you find so many aspects of you are opened up. And this has been for me in business, you know, which seems like completely unrelated to the sexuality space or the embodiment space. And it's like, oh, it's like I can access my killer instinct and my innocence and my compassion and my creativity and my higher purpose. And it's like, yeah, that's all me. So to be able to be my whole self in whatever, and you know, my art has matured so much from kind of mystery school work and ISTA work and whatnot, and it's because more parts of me are allowed to live in this body. So I think that's the deeper understanding of what we're doing there, especially those of us who are repeat visiting these spaces, is moving into more and more wholeness, more and more integration, which comes in sort of worldly language. It shows up as an increase in love, an increase in power, an increase in self-esteem, an increase in, you know, stability of who we are. So that's the kind of work that I'm interested in doing in my life, and it's which is why I've been drawn to supporting and facilitating and leading this work, is because, you know, every time I see people bring parts of themselves home, you know, release wounds and baggage, yes, but also step into new levels of who they are. And sometimes it happens in a second, you know, sometimes it happens in a moment, that something that maybe has been limiting you for 10 years, 25 years, 30 years is like, oh, I'm just welcoming that part home. And then it's like, oh my God, this person just became more whole. You know, you can see their soul shining through, or you see them more complete express version of themselves. So yeah, that's why I'm in this work and why I'm in this world.
Thank you, Dane. I feel like my heart is opening listening to you, and there's like a wish. We are maybe from the same generation or not so far. The wish would be that the new generation that is already on this planet could have access to those invitations earlier. No, this kind of integrative education, I don't know how to call it, earlier, so they can enjoy life as we are doing. As no, I mean, there's nothing but to receive at the age of 50, 60, whatever. But yeah, the feeling is like, wow, something is coming back on this planet, and lucky people that will receive at the age of 7, 10, 12, 14, no,
100%. Yeah,
to be into full expression of those different parts of the, what does it mean to be human? Yeah. That was really a pleasure to be with you. You are one of the person that I'm following on Instagram that I love, because I always have the feeling that I'm with you in your living room, next to you, in your car, whatever, you know. You have this approach with the social media that is really immediate, you know. So I have the feeling to be very, intimate with you. Really, what is happening, you know, there is like directness that I love, and hope to meet you in flesh very soon.
Yeah, looking forward to.
In Europe, is there something else you'd like to add in this conversation, or to say your own way to say goodbye?
What do I want to add? I'll say goodbye. Just, you know, just really sending this out to anyone who's in Europe in August, right? It's August that we're doing this. Yeah. The invitation, this is my last level 1 for 2024. So if you've been following me, or you're aware of me already, and I've had people, I want to do level 1 with you, whatever. This is the last chance this year. So really extending the invitation to that, and it's going to be a magical journey. So just really setting that intention that anyone who needs to be there is gonna see this, or get that little thread of like, you know what, fuck it, I'm there. And yeah, thank you for this conversation. I've enjoyed it. It's set my day up nicely. I'm going to go have a hot tub and look out over the hills of Devon, and just sort of drop in this part of the world. I really just got here yesterday, so thank you for the chat. I appreciate it, brother.
Beautiful. As I said to Araminta, this seems to be a very super beautiful triad of facilitators. Like to be with the people. Hey, let's go, let's do it. We are here, let's go. Very supportive and challenging in a beautiful way. So lucky participant will be there in Rome in summer with all of you. Wish you a beautiful month of June. July, and see you very soon, brother. See you very soon. Thank you very much, Dane.
Appreciate it. Thanks for it.